सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्देव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः।
I believe we stopped at 30th.
31st, yes, sir.
31st is what we have to start, according to my notes.
Lesson 30.
Oh.
Yeah, I have 31st.
No, I wrote here.
I have marked as 36 as well.
36.
Yes,
I wrote here,
well.
same when you finished.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I missed the last day.
Yeah.
No, I did not, but according to my notes.
So what I'll do is give you a quick summary of 31, 32, 33, 34. That way you are patched up. Then we'll start with the course. So sorry, open up page, whichever page has 31st shloka of 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Repeat after me. यया धर्ममधर्मञ्च कार्यं चाकार्यमेव च अयथावत् प्रजानाति बुद्धिः सा पार्थ राजसी। Just to have the continuity, flip to the earlier shloka, 30th. It will give you a comprehensive picture. प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च कार्याकार्ये भयाभये बन्धं मोक्षं च या वेत्ति बुद्धिः सा पार्थ सात्विकी। This particular segment focuses upon various aspects of life, and every aspect of life can be viewed, perceived in three different categories: Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. Sattvic is the purity, Rajasic is the action oriented, more on a selfish basis, and Tamasic is dull, lethargic pattern of life. In every vastu, this can be found. So just to give a vivid idea as to how to understand it, water in its solid state can be called tamasic. Water in the water vapor format can be called as the Rajasic state, and the water which is in the liquid state can be called as the Sattvic state. Just to give you an idea. So what are these different aspects? So Bhagavan gives various lists. He says Satya can be of 3 types. Fortitude can be of 3 types. And here he is talking about Buddhi, a very crucial element because of which we human beings claim ourselves to be the zenith of zenith of this creation. All the creatures that are there, among them 8.4 million, 84 lakhs species, Jiva Rashi. Human form is considered as the most qualified one from various standpoints. One of the main highlights or main standpoint is their buddhi, intelligence. Every other creature also has certain buddhi, but it is limited only to a certain extent. How many of you have pets? 1, 2. No. I won't say fish as a pet, which is what most Indian parents buy when the children ask for a pet, because it does not have to be taken out for a walk. You don't have to clean up the poop and the mess. So the easiest maintenance is, how many of you tried getting a fish to your children? So you know what I'm talking about.
But we killed it. We killed it in a week.
I mean, by neglect or by restriction? Any which way. So when you have these pets, dogs, cats, sometimes how they react or how they act, it shows a certain spark of intelligence even in them. I was at somebody's house and they had 3 children, 2 twins. The older ones were twins. The younger one, after a gap of 5 years, there was a small toddler, another boy. And while these parents and the older kids, they were talking to me, they had a dog. I don't know what variety it is, the black one, big one. And it looked ferocious, but it was doing something unusually amazing. The little toddler was put in a, not a cradle, but a rocker. And this dog was using its neck to keep that baby rocking, so that the moment the rocking stops, the kid would start cranking up his voice. So the dog very silently goes there and starts shaking that rocker and put that baby at ease. And we had a good conversation. I was amazed that the dog had not just that ability to identify what is required, but to do according to that. It shows some kind of intelligence. Sometimes the husbands have to be told, ro raha hai, jaake dekho. Sometimes, not all families. So there's something to learn from the dog as well. So you look at in different creatures, they have certain idea of discrimination. What does the intellect do? It discriminates that which is necessary and that which is not necessary. Now, one of the animals that is taken for example is the Hamsa. Nira Kshira Viveka. So you mix how much ever water in that milk and try feed that swan. it will take only the milk and rest of the white, the rest of the liquid, water, is left behind. To know what is required and take that, and what is not required to let go of it. The cow, it eats grass. Put anything else, probably it will not even touch it. Some intelligence. Now, human being has the capacity of this intelligence of the highest order. It's a different story altogether whether we end up using it or not. That buddhi is now here discussed in 3 different shades. First one, the pure kind. Pravrittincha nivrittincha karya akarye bhaya bhaye bandham mokshancha ya vetti sa buddhihi partha satviki. This kind of buddhi, intelligence, is called satvik buddhi. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha. When to act and when to withdraw. And especially this particular kind of capacity seems to shut itself off when we are consumed by our own emotional aspect. We know in an argument when exactly is a good point to stop and withdraw. But that capacity to recognize it at that moment somehow gets shut off. And we only recognize it posthumously, after the incident. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I'm really sorry. English has developed this one word which has lost its true potentiality. Because for every silly thing we keep saying sorry, even if you have not done anything wrong. I'm sorry, but why do you have to be sorry? May I ask a question? And if I'm disturbing, then you can say, you start with, I'm sorry, I may be disturbing. Whole life filled with sorry, therefore we are called samsari. Samsari. When to be in pravritti and when to be in nivritti. Not knowing this, we will end up with a situation which I would like to put it as Abhimanyu syndrome. What is Abhimanyu syndrome? What did Abhimanyu do? He knew how to break the Chakravyuha and enter. But he did not know how to exit. He had the infallible strategy to break that and enter it. But he had no exit strategy. I don't know, some of these survival things that are taught is before you get into a building, mark its exits as well. Especially in this country. These buildings, I call them as Lakshagriha. Lakshagriha made of flimsy material that can catch fire like that. Entering is not a big issue. To even recognize what would be the easiest. Yesterday I was telling, right, in flight, they have a lot of Vedanta. What is the first thing that they tell you in those announcements in the beginning, which we may tune them off? We don't even pay attention to. They say, mark that in case of emergency, your nearest exit. And they say something very beautiful with that regard. Your nearest exit may be right behind you. So keep an eye on it. Because we are, especially Indians traveling, So we have, then we are good. We have lot of things to carry. And we are worried that that space up will be taken up by others. So there is that mindset still working. Let me score it first. And we rush in, open all the possible spaces and start thusofying things inside. How do I translate thusofying? Jam things up. That we want to now settle down first. My seat, my settle. You may have settled, but have you recognized the nearest possible exit? Similarly, in life, in every walk of life, to know when exactly to be involved and when exactly to withdraw from the situation, one requires intelligence, and that application of intelligence expresses sattvic buddhi. Many of the business schools teach this. There's a whole chapter on exit strategy. Any MBAs here? So they would know how much emphasis is given on that. You are interacting with somebody, and with the kind of question that is asked or the mode that it is taking towards, it will soon tend to become a discussion leaning towards argument becoming a fight. And if it is with some Tom, Dick and Harry that you don't even meet or don't even know who he or she is, it doesn't matter. What does matter is with our regular interactions with the near ones and dear ones. We know their mindset, don't we? We have lived with them for... How many of you have not lived with your spouse which is less than 5 years? Anybody who has lived with a spouse, recently married, 5 years? The rest of you have lived more than 5 years. You know the other person inside out. Every habit, every pattern, every angle of their existence, inside out, don't you know? Yes or no?
Yes.
Huh.
I think so.
Very Shubhaji. Because this is a good moment for me to do Narayana. To play Narada Muni. Knowing every aspect of them, knowing that this argument may not be ending well, but still, what comes as a priority? I should have the final say. I should be the one, rubbing it in. I should be, and in that argument or in that confrontation, you already have seen that the other person has agreed that it is their mistake. It's high time now we should withdraw. No, but the ego is not still very satisfied. Chavachu, pakadega. Now I will rub your nose all the way down. And that's that ego gratification. Pravritti, nivritti. When to stop? In the pattern of, say, applying this buddhi in speech. When to speak. Sometimes it is hilarious. Somebody is having a question or a doubt, and they've raised their hand and they're asking their question. There'll be at least 5, 6 smart Alex sitting in the gathering that probably he is saying, he's thinking, or he means this. Wait, question unka hai. Pucha mujhse hai. When that question is there, they're asking me. You don't need to butt in. No, I think, I got the question. Answer. To know when I have to speak. There's so many times when I don't need to speak. Zip it up. When to speak. And then when you know that it is your time to speak, then to know what to say. What I want to say is, I know your whole purpose is to say what you want, what you're thinking. You don't need to state that and then say it. Think. You don't need to jump in. Think through. Formulate your sentence and speak in the most choicest words that can communicate well, without any regrets later. What to speak, when to speak, what to speak. And also to recognize what not to speak. You are in a gathering and there are so many cultural aspects. Before I came in to this country, they gave me a list of things. Swamiji, you're going into a country where they are trigger happy about lawsuits and such things. You will be speaking on a public platform. Do not utter these things. Because back in India, we refer to the black people as, don't say it. You know what we used to say. The N-word. Not from any derogatory thing, that is the way we refer. Here it has become a derogatory thing. In this part of the country. They themselves may call themselves as the N-word. Have you heard the rappers sing in the songs or even in their interview? They themselves call each other as the N-word, but we should not be calling them that. Not knowing it doesn't cut it. Do your research and learn what not to say, when to speak, what to speak, what not to speak, how to speak. You may know what to speak, but that what you have formulated has to come with an appropriate bhava. I was so happy. I was really ecstatic. I was overflowing with ecstasy. I was never thrilled that much in my life. Hey, change your expression. I am like this only. Take it or leave it. No, it doesn't serve the purpose. Whatever has to be said with the appropriate bhava. How to say it. That is how even the names were named. Looking at the way the middle or the second son of Kunti was growing, he looks like a giant. Bhim. Even when you utter that word, the bhava comes in like he is somebody little terrifying. Sahadeva. It doesn't come with the same terrifying aspect. Bhishma. Somebody who has done something worth noting. Bhishma. So the bhava has to be matched. I was so ecstatic. That matches. I was so ecstatic. It's like your kids when you take them back from Balavihar. How was it? Good. What did you learn? Nothing. It depends. If it is higher elementary, then it is tough. If it is middle school, it is nothing. If it is high school, a stair tending towards becoming a glare. Have I ever answered that question? Why even ask that question? Duh. Things happen. Come on, chill. That's the look. Was it good? I guess so. And then to say, I'm not that expressive. Learn to be expressive. When to speak, how to speak, what to speak, what not to speak, how to speak. And the last one, the most important, nivritti, when to stop, when to withdraw. In every aspect of life, pravritti, nivritti. And this, once learned, it brings in a lot of peace everywhere around. When there are relatives, especially the outlaws, in-laws, they are also walking on eggshells, you are also walking on eggshells. How long? To know how to interact, when to interact, and when to withdraw. You have seen something terribly being done.
Totally.
At that point, you may not like it, but that is not the right time to probably tell. Let them settle down. And there are some good times, and you know what are those good times. And when they are sitting, relaxing, watching a TV, or maybe just finished food. There was this mother who was threatening the child. Recently I heard, Papa ko aane de. Aate hi bataungi. Let your father come. And as soon as he comes from the office, I'll tell him immediately. He'll be hungry, he'll really scold you well. He is setting up the entire thing to be sounded very harsh. That mindset.
Recently saw the Facebook, like, he had commented, don't
Huh.
vote for this.
I just saw something very disturbing about these women who were captured by the ISIS and they were being sold as the sex slaves. Or if they don't agree then or resist, they would be beheaded. So I posted it with, it impacted me for more than a day watching it. I said, to be even aware of it is a good thing. And there are people, I don't know, sensitivity, like, what is there to like in that? Sorry guys, sorry to inform you, my father passed away. Like, sensitivity, man. Pravritti, nivritti. Karya, akarya. When is it appropriate to do something? When is it not appropriate to do something? What is it that will bind me further more into agitations? What is it that will relieve me from agitations? To know all these aspects and to be applying in day-to-day life, such buddhi is called sattvic buddhi. What is Rajasic Buddhi? Yaya dharmam adharmancha karyam cha karyameva cha ayathavat prajanati buddhi sa partha rajasi. I was reading a certain conversation between husband and wife. The wife asks, "Do I look fat?" This is one question. It is dangerous. You say no. Or you're lying to me now? When have you been truthful with me? And that is the time that. And say yes. Gosh, you're not sensitive. How could you say that? When I read the whole conversation, I'm like, why ask that question? So, dharmam adharmam, karyam akaryam, ayathavat prajanati. What is not grasped or perceived, but it is always misconstrued. Constantly taken in a wrong sense, wrong perspective. Any conversation, any action about any dharma or adharma, a parent scolding the child because the child, for whatever reasons, has something which does not belong to him. A pencil or a pencil box or something. And it's becoming a habit. So the mother finally brings it to the notice of the father. The father says, good cop, bad cop. So the father says, beta, don't do like this. If you want pencil, sharpener, eraser, things like that, tell me, I will bring it from office. Ayathavat. You are expecting a certain value to be appreciated in the next generation, and what are we setting them up for? So the idea is, as long as you are a kid living in this house, these will be the rules. The moment you become an adult, you can do whatever we are doing right now. Isn't it a wrong thing? Ayathavat. There's your cell phone ringing, you didn't want to pick up because you didn't want to talk to that person, and your son or your child who was there playing around suddenly turns around, sees that vibrating, and then swipes it across and picks it up and says, "Hello?" I'm in the bathroom. And the kid also very nicely says, "My father says he is in the bathroom." Look, kar lo baat. Ayathavat. Wrong way of doing things. Between the children. Again, this is about parenting especially. Between children, trying to pitch each other against the other. As the older one does something, learn from your younger brother. Not like, kuch to seek, learn something. Or if it is the score or if it is the grades, look at the neighbor's daughter. Look at your cousin. Look at ayathavat. When dharma and adharma has to be followed, I expect people to understand if I have a certain flaw. I am human. Things happen. Please adjust. Please understand. But do we apply the same mindset when others are doing something around us? We don't even cut them a little room of scope. Ayathavat. Dharma for me is one thing, dharma for somebody else is something else. Karya, akarya. What is okay for me and what is not okay for me. The standards change. Such dual standards of hypocritical understanding is called Rajasic Buddhi. Does it make it clear? Even though we understand it, we try to push it under the rug as if others around are fools and they don't observe. That hypocritical standpoint. Don't we observe others' hypocrisy and recognize it? Yes, no.
Yes.
When we are being hypocritical, don't you think others around are observing? And then we start complaining. Nobody understands me. I am the only one putting so much of effort and things happen. Why don't they understand? Right? You are not being true to yourself. Such buddhi is called Rajasic Buddhi. Again, every time I am going through these, I mention, please do not use this to judge others around. This is for evaluating one's own self only. Now, what is tamasic buddhi? Tamasic buddhi. Adharmam dharmamitiya.
Adharmam dharmamitiya.
Manyate tamasavrita.
Manyate tamasavrita.
Sarvarthan viparitanscha.
Sarvarthan viparitanscha.
Buddhissa parthatamasi.
Buddhissa parthatamasi.
Adharmam dharmamitiya manyate tamasavrita. Sarvarthan viparitanscha buddhi sa partha tamasi. Such buddhi is tamasic buddhi. What is it? That which is clearly known as adharma. To perform it with various clauses and making that as a lifestyle. I am itching to say so much under this category. Should I?
Yes.
Blame it on Narada Muni Swamiji.
No, I don't need to blame it on anybody. I'll blame it squarely on you. You meaning? When it has to be between two people, then it is Narada Muni. It is laying it out clearly. So, the story goes that the first time, we as Indians came in here, settled down in a neighborhood, and usually we are pretty sleek about it. The kind of neighborhood that we choose is predominantly guided by one primary factor:
School.
the school district. And around that school district, something which is safe, nearby, various aspects. So found a neighborhood, settled in there. And first Thanksgiving or Christmas, the neighbors, welcoming you, invited over for the Thanksgiving dinner. So you already told them that you are vegetarian. Then don't worry, we will have something for you. They've already accommodated for the diet. So as soon as you go and there is all interaction done, the pleasantries exchanged, and then you sit down, there is this tall glass, something red being poured, and the husband is like, never had the habit, but what will they think? And the wife is looking at him, and there's a lot of sign language happening. And then come to a standpoint later wherein, well, these things cannot be avoided when you are in the business world, That which is tamasic, being followed as if there was no scope, nothing to escape, to stand firm on your own ground, not to belittle anybody, but to stand firm in your own clarity. But to give in and to make that as a okay life standpoint. Now as I see everybody looking at me, I can see there are various things that are trailing after that. Okay, that was one, there is next. That which over a period of time becomes okay. That becomes the way of life. Oh, another example. That was like waves of shock, cultural shock that I had gone through 14 years ago. To understand that, I'll ask few questions. When do you celebrate birthdays and anniversaries?
On the same day.
On the same day. What will happen if you don't celebrate it? Doggos. There is something that happens which you don't want to face, so you tend to remember. So there was this newly married couple and the boy was, I'm not very good with dates, Swamiji. I already have, she asked one day, do you know what day it is? I said Tuesday. No, not that way. This is our 6-month anniversary. Remember we met 6 months ago first time. I am really scared for these dates. How do I remember? Especially the wedding anniversary, birthday and such things. How do I remember? I said, first year, forget all the dates. What are you telling me? I want to remember. I said, no, forget all the dates. Why? Once you forget, your spouse will make sure that you remember it for the rest of your life. Dates are pretty important. We celebrate them on that day. But then, culturally, Janmashtami, Ganesh Chaturthi, or Navaratri, Ram Navami, such things, when do we celebrate it?
Convenience.
The answer is the nearest possible convenient weekend, not the immediate weekend. Convenient weekend. And then make it as a tradition. See, that way I can tell that our ancestors may not have given us all answers about our tradition, culture and customs. But one thing that I can tell you for sure, that they have at least handed down the processes without corrupting them. They may not have known the purpose behind it, but the process was handed down very efficiently. And with our conveniences, what are we setting the next generation up for?
It is okay to delay also.
It is okay to delay or not to also. And I feel really sorry for those who say, oh, Hinduism, we don't have such regulations. You can do whatever you feel like, whenever you feel like, however you feel like. That is Hinduism. That which is not the regular process, we tend to slip into our conveniences and then sustain that convenience as if it is dharma. Getting it? Say in Balavihar, so when the parents come along with the children, and I ask them, what is the main purpose that you brought your children for? This is so that they can understand our culture, our tradition, our Vedic Samskriti better. And they can follow it in their lives. They can understand it so that they can follow it. So if it is the Hindu culture, tradition, customs that have to be taught, I know it is your weekend. I know it is your relaxing weekend. Can the parents also come in Indian clothes? So that is exactly what we are trying to teach the children. आ जाते हैं फटीचर की तरह शॉर्ट्स पहन के. There is nothing wrong you wearing shorts. There is nothing wrong if you wear tank tops. There is an appropriate occasion, purpose behind. You cannot go to a boxing ring wearing a tuxedo. You need those kinds of clothes. Where the purpose is to teach the religion, and the child may not be able to say everything clearly, but he observes the discrepancies. Observes the discrepancies that this is being thrust on me. My parent himself or herself does not appreciate it because whatever is being taught to me is not being followed by them. Adharmam dharmam iti. That which is supposed to be, when because of conveniences we don't follow it. Because there are always, in choices, there are two choices. The right choice and the easy choice. And what do we prefer choosing? And make it a lifestyle. That is what is tamasic buddhi. Sarvarthan viparitanscha. And that buddhi which takes everything in a crooked way. Such buddhi is called tamasic buddhi. Now Now going to the next set. Dhruti. Dhruti is fortitude. Repeat after me. Dhrutya yaya dharayate
धृत्याययाकारयते
anaprānendriya kriyaha
मनप्राणेन्द्रियक्रिया
yogena vyabhicharinya
योगेन व्यभिचारिण्या
धृतिस्सा पार्थ सात्विकी.
धृतिस्सा पार्थ सात्विकी.
A very strongly defined shloka. And Bhagavan is not sparing anybody in his explanation. So to understand this meaning of fortitude, please buckle up, because it is going to hurt in different ways. What is Dhruti? Dhruti is fortitude. That which you have analyzed well, that which you have processed well, that which you have come to a conviction. Come to a conviction that this is the path that I have to take. Having come to that conclusion, to train, tune every aspect of our existence towards that direction, towards that path, however difficult it may be, to hold on to it and to keep moving forward, that spirit is called fortitude. Manaha prana indriya kriya. The mind, the breath, the organs of perception and action, the actions, every aspect of it tuned and geared towards that which I have gathered conviction about. Guruji puts it beautifully. He says, if we are planning to climb Everest and we are ever at rest, you would never reach. And once having taken that conviction, avyabhicharinya, we know that in various languages, when the word vyabhichara is used, what is it normally translated into as? Vyabhichara. Achha, it's a very harsh way of explaining, and he does not spare us here. Nobody is even committing themselves to say it out loud. Vyabhichara means to be a prostitute. You have come to a certain conclusion, and based out of that clarity, you have convinced, you have created a conviction as simple as waking up early in the morning. I'm just taking a very silly example. Waking up early in the morning. Who decided that? I decided it for myself. Who set the alarm up? Multiple alarms. Who set it up?
My husband.
I set it up. Put it on him. I decide to wake up early in the morning. I have set the alarm. And when morning happens, when that alarm goes off, I am yet to see a person that jumps off the bed as soon as there is the alarm that goes off. They say, now I have a bright day to look forward to. What happens in those moments? This is the best moment of the sleep. The bed is warm, I can feel it. The quilt is also warm. Today is Saturday, today is Sunday. I can afford to sleep a little longer. What? You did not know that today is going to be a Saturday or Sunday yesterday? You decided to wake up, right? To waver from that basic conviction that we have signed up for ourselves is called prostitution. Simple waking up. Food habits. We go through different diets, sign up for different things, Weight Watchers and काहे का हंगामा कर रहे हैं? The simple logic. Whenever the input is higher than output, it gets piled up. Simple. The food that you are eating gives to certain calories, and you, per your day's schedule, you are not burning up those calories. Somebody beautifully said, don't wear that. Don't eat that which you don't want to wear. For a period, that accumulation, you start wearing it. And every time you stand in front of that, and in this country, they build the bathroom or the closet in such a way that mirrors are this big. You cannot avoid. Pura Satya. Every aspect of your Satyatva is revealed there. And you just look at it and you look at yourself to do something. See, whenever we take these convictions, more than what I am going to achieve through this conviction, what am I ready to give up, sacrifice, that preparedness is not looked into. When it is just one aspect of it, what I have to achieve, that is a no-brainer, anybody can. What am I ready to give up for that? Do I have clarity about that? I have to give up my sleep. So be it. I have to give up tasty food. Everything that I like is either fattening or unhealthy or illegal. What am I ready to do to reach that? What am I ready to give up? There was this documentary on the eagles, and it was called Where the Eagles Dare in National Geography. And I said they have something with the heights, that they have to break their own barriers of flying higher and higher. And when they are trying to break those barriers, a very closely, beautifully documented documentary. They start pulling out the unnecessary feathers so that they can lighten themselves and they can break their own barrier. And it is not like it was just hanging there and it was a dead weight, and they have to pluck it out of their self. And those of you who do regular exercise, there is a word that they use, the burn. To feel that burn. My hands and legs are sore. It will be there for at least 5-6 days. You will feel sore. But it is only after these 5-6 days, when your muscles have now stretched enough and you have acclimatized yourself, that you start feeling the benefit of it afterwards. Are we ready for that burn? In the YUP courses, the youth empowerment courses, to bring all these students into shape, there is morning exercise and evening we have sports. And looking at me and other sannyasis, these sannyasis, we can beat them. So, if you really think that you can beat, and we could go through a soccer or a volleyball or the frisbee, what do you call it, ultimate or whatever game, play it so rigorously. Ask any of those kids who have done it. The first week they remember very well. It hurts. It hurts because you're trying to shape yourself. Are you ready? Are you signing up for that hurt, for that pain? We only imagine that in our trying to plan about that which can be achieved. What are you ready to sacrifice to reach there? Are you clear about that? Because if we are not clear, what we end up doing is vyabhichara. And I think it has gotten into our genes as Indians especially. In Hindi there is a word called jugaad. Jugaad is a shortcut. In everything and anything, to find the shortest possible way. There is nothing wrong in trying to apply a short method, but not giving up the conviction that you have laid out for yourself. Because you fail once, you start doubting one's own capacity. You fail twice, you have started losing your willpower. You fail third time, you have already branded yourself as a loser. And to come out of that pit of self-pity is not that easy. Recently I was in Sri Lanka. The northern province where there was a lot of fight, lot of internal civil war that was happening. I'm not making a political statement here. Who was right, who was wrong. Whoever was right, whoever was wrong, ultimately the sufferers is the humanity. Whether they are Sinhala, whether they are Tamil, it doesn't matter. The ultimate sufferers is humanity. One thing that I really appreciated, that they are in abject poverty. Like, say, we have $100. How many of us can have a decent meal? When I say decent, Taco Bell or McDonald's is not decent. A decent meal, how many of us can have a meal in $100? About 7 to 10 people can have decent meal. $10 per person. It roughly translates to about 14,000 Sri Lankan rupees, and a family of 7 or 9 have to survive entire month in that 14,000 rupees. Where the tomatoes in their local market is about 900 rupees. Green chilies, a kilo, is about 1200 rupees. And if somebody is eating onion and garlic, they are well to do. Can you guess what is the price of onion? Onions are about 3,000 and garlic is about 3,500. Not able to afford that, and yet the swabhimana, the self-pride is so high that they would not stretch their hand in as beggars. Did not see a single beggar out on the street. With whatever little piece of land that they have, they divide that little piece into a shack where all these 9 elves again jammed up in, and the rest of the space they have a garden patch, kitchen garden. And whatever vegetable, it's a virgin land, it's a beautiful virgin land there. So anything, even if you throw seed by mistake, it will start growing. So they'll grow their own vegetables. Surrounded by the ocean, they have the seafood. And they'll survive on that and try to find a method, but not put themselves down to be beggars. And if somebody is going to give them a hand me off kind of things, they would refuse to take it. Teach us something, we will learn and we will stand on our feet. That conviction which gets tested even through the toughest of the times and you still stick to it, that fortitude, that dhriti is called sattvic dhriti. Ours a little bit happens, I'll do something else. Whether it is our health, whether it is our wealth, whether it is our education. Oh, I told my child if he wanted to study, he didn't want what, I let it go. When you are failing as a parent, you're failing as an individual. Whatever is the conviction born out of clarity, think through all aspects of it, not just what you will gain, what you will have to suffer through to reach there. Are you mentally prepared to go through that suffering? Nothing is given free, as they say it here in the business world. There are no free lunches. Am I right? Is that the word used, cliche? There's nothing free out there. It is there, but how much are you prepared to reach, give up to reach there? Create that clarity. Create a plan of action. Then once you jump in, strive to reach. That is why when they take the marathon, the half marathons, full marathons, the first timers are said, yours is not to be clocking against the time. Yours is to clock against your own will. Any marathoners here? How many? 4 times. I've done twice. I may be doing third time. The first time I did, first 19 miles, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was not that difficult. From the 20th mile, every bone, every muscle, every aspect of my existence was hurting and hurting intensely. Thanks to the team that I had signed up with, they were like, moving forward from now, it is not about time. It is about the will to complete it. You have signed up, complete. Without giving up. Once you reach the final, you cross that threshold. Give 1 day gap. By the third day, say, I think I'm ready for my next one. You don't cross the threshold, it will start impacting every aspect of your life. That's why I'm very picky, choosy when I take people to Kailash Yatra. Because in these marathons, if somebody wants to drop, you sit there and I will keep moving forward. At least you can call somebody, they'll pick you up from there and leave. In Kailash Manas, if you sit, there is no coming back. It's a 54 kilometer stretch, only 54. To be done in 3 days. The maximum height that you cross is 19,600 feet. Dolmala Pass. Anything above 14,000 feet, oxygen level starts drastically cutting down. To walk from here to the door on the second day, this distance at the Dolmala Pass, I am not kidding if I am saying that it will take at least 15 minutes to reach there. And the second day is the most taxing, because at a total you have to walk about 21 kilometers. Of those 21 kilometers, there are 12 kilometers where you have to access to that height and then come down, and it's a precarious 90-degree slope that you have to walk down. After having walked that, you say, "Ho gaya?" No. After that, you have to walk another 9 kilometers. Every step. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And the trick that all the Sherpas, oh, bas itne, just round it. To not give up in between. To be able to accomplish, because I have started, because I have convinced myself to do it. What if I was wrong? That you should have thought before you have started. Therefore, my emphasis was think through, find absolute clarity, and then commit to it, and that commitment to be not broken, rain or shine. Such people become achievers. Such people become successful. Such people become leaders. Instead, if you are being a suck-up, that doesn't make you a leader. Maybe you will get the position and you look back, there will be nobody following you. By hook or crook, you have achieved it. You have somehow captured that role. You look back, there will be nobody. You will be a loner, a loser and a loner. A leader is that who commits with absolute clarity, and having committed, accomplishes it without, in spite of all possible pain, sorrow, suffering that they have to go through. And a greater leader is that who, going through that personal suffering, protects the members of his team to not go through that suffering and take them across. And a greater leader does not, the greater than the second one, does not try to protect the team members, but equip them and empower them to go through, so that when he looks around, there is nobody following. He has created a team of leaders. That is Satvik Dhriti. But then when we put this into our practical day-to-day life, oh, if I teach them, if I equip them, if I empower them, my own job, what do you call it? Job insecurity. Baba, if you are able to create a handful of leaders along with you, do you think the management is such dumb to let such person go? If they are that dumb to let go, it was not worthy enough a place to be in first place. Think. That dhriti is called Satvik dhriti. We'll read the shloka, see the meaning tomorrow. Repeat after me. Yaya tu dharma kamarthan धृत्या धारयते अर्जुना प्रसंगेन फलाकांक्षी धृतिः सा पार्थ राजसी the one who signs up only for the result of it and not prepared to work hard towards it. Such fortitude is called Rajasic fortitude. Mismanagement begins from here. That we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru